This is a Jaguar XJS. It's one of the later ones and one of my favorite cars of all time. I actually have some personal history with this car. I think it's just the right example to show you the other side of the rose-tinted coin.
I did an internship at a classic car garage, where I spent some time working on one of these.
Now granted, it was in much worse shape than this one. Now this car came in and had a shopping list of things not working. The engine was lumpy, bumpy, bits and bobs not working, you name it. So I thought I'd take this example a bit further into detail, go through it, and show you just how fragile some of these systems are. And maybe you'll understand where the stereotypical reliability comes from. Under the bonnet, we'll find the root of the problem, here, under this jumbled mess of spark plug wires.
This is the distributor of the car, which sends out electronic signals to each of the spark plugs so they know when to fire.
Now for 12 cylinders, this little guy has his work cut out for him.
So to help him out, they put this little piece of cloth or wool right in the middle of it.
The thinking was, with each servet, you put a few drops of oil in there, which kept it lubricated and spinning nicely. I don't know for certain, but I guess the actual number of people that did this was 5. This one, I know for a fact, didn't.
The distributor wasn't lubricated properly, so the timing was all wrong. This caused what's known as a misfire.
This then led to an incomplete combustion inside of the cylinder. Unburned fuel was sat in a combustion chamber, which made the spark plugs all wet. All in all, this unburned fuel was then piped up through the exhaust headers and into the piping itself.
Now all of this upset the electronic fuel delivery system horribly, which caused it to misuse the surge tank.
Now the surge tank in an XJS makes sure that there's a constant supply of fuel for the fuel pump, preventing fuel starvation. But because the fuel system was so destabilized at this point, it caused the fuel to sit for a while. And as the car was parked, it started to rot as well. Now when the car was driven again, this dirty, rotted fuel was pumped back up front, clogging the injectors.
Now even more chaos to the combustion cycle made the exhaust system very unhappy, and with the unburned fuel still being added into the catalytic converters, they started to overheat and melt.
I still have vivid memories of firing the car up and seeing these hot flaming embers shoot out of the exhaust pipes into the car behind me. Now this was the final straw, and the car suffered a complete thermal breakdown. The customer was looking at thousands in repairs.
And all because they didn't add a few drops of oil to a special piece of wool every once in a while.
Now, if these cars are so unreliable, why on earth would anyone ever want to own one? What possible reason could they have?
This car needs no introduction, so I won't bother with one. It is, however, the perfect place to start explaining where this reason may lie. In their styling. I still believe this is the most beautiful car ever made. It was introduced to me in an old French comedy film. It featured a dark blue Series 1 coupe. I can still see it. There was something so otherworldly about that shape. Nothing over the years came quite close to the way I viewed that car.
Jaguar always stood for class and elegance, especially in the 1960s, and that philosophy of exuding style was never more on display than it is here. Every single panel on this car is in perfect harmony with the others.
You see, this intake, which is now iconic, would have been too big on its own, so they broke it up with this elegant but now iconic piece. It's simple, but this in turn frees up the front of the bonnet, where normally a logo or an emblem would be.
This smooth piece in turn accentuates the headlights. They too round it off perfectly.
The bulge on this bonnet is so subtle, especially in darker colors, but it helps breaking up the massive clamshell. So too do these pinstripe details running along the side. Where louvers like these are usually found on the back windows of Yobos, here they offer a set of sharp but subtle details into the clamshell as well.
The Jaguar always managed to insert these subtle but oh so recognizable style elements.
They always came together in this beautiful cocktail of perfect proportions at the end. Speaking of proportions, the way this car sharpens up at the back is absolutely crazy. It has a sort of Corvette C2 element about it without any of the American brutishness. The elements, the lines, running all the way from the front to the back of this car is unparalleled, even today, all these years later. I've always liked the convertible better to the coupe. You'd think taking the roof off would spoil it, bring it out of balance, but it doesn't. The sheer size of that clamshell brings it all together so effortlessly. And that's what gets me about this car. It's effortlessly beautiful. It's not the sort of beauty that would make you wave your arms around like a new Ferrari or Lamborghini might, but it's stylish and contemporary. It's the sort of beauty you look at and then discuss over a cup of tea, maybe all day. Speaking of tea, this is a different philosophy altogether. This is a sports car for the simple man in life, for the man who doesn't want any of the extravagance or chromed madness that a Jaguar E-Type has. That becomes immediately clear when you look at the car. There are no chrome-lined pinstripings anywhere. You'll find no fancy louvers on these back arches. Nowhere does this comparison become more apparent than in the interior. You'll find no vulgar upholstery here. The wood isn't even varnished properly. The carpets are ill-fitting, and the pedals say British Leyland. Even their wheels share little more than the shape. You'll find no aluminium wire mesh pieces of beauty here. This is steel. This car, in every way, shape, and form, is conceivably worse than the E-Type we looked at earlier. But then you get to the front, and you sort of realize it knows that. It knows that, and it's not trying to be anything more than what it is. That's where this car's beauty lies, in its simplicity, its honesty. This is a car built for working class people, not some yob in a mansion. And I think that's a sort of beauty that's underappreciated, especially nowadays. It is true, however, that to most people, English sports cars are always viewed in a sort of brutish and apish manner, a hairy-chested man's car. That's not true. In fact, that's complete and utter horsewang. There's only one car that fulfills that criteria of being the proper man's car, and that's this, the superb Jensen Interceptor. Gone is any hint of Jaguar class or Triumph subtlety. This, if you would know any better, you'd think was American. But in some redneck sort of deep corner in my past, I really love it for that. I always have a soft spot for these big brutes of cars, and this one is the best of them all. From certain angles, if you weren't so sure, this grille has some Aston Martin elements to them, but then these headlights are completely Italian. But it pulls it off so well. That's where the beauty of the Interceptor lies, in the ways it differentiates itself from not only its European, American, but British counterparts as well. Take a look at these loafers. Remind you of anything? The Interceptor has dozens of these little details all work into its brutish exterior, even its name. But any hint of apishness and American roughness vanishes by the time you get to this back end. This back end is where the Interceptor's success lays, often replicated but never duplicated. Everything about this piece is so perfect. The proportions, the way this enormous back window loops around the entire back of the car, and then the way they manage to sort of drape it back down again. It's incredible. The Interceptor, then, is once again a different philosophy in the British approach to beauty. But it's a rough sort of beauty. It's unapologetic in every single way.
It's so out there, so special. And there are tens of these philosophies out there, dozens of marks from back in the day. Lister, Morgan, Noble, Ginetta, Jensen. These are definitely the odd ones out here, the diamond dogs. But does that mean that they should be left out? Why shouldn't their stories be worth telling?
There are, of course, very good reasons why these brands don't exist anymore today. But standing here now and looking at them, I really can't remember any.